Last video, I built a custom base for this arched cabinet, and with many trials and errors, I was able to figure out how to keep it standing. It's time to finish off this flip with paint. Will I decide to go bold with this cabinet or stick to a more timeless color for a quicker sale? Stay tuned to find out. Hey everybody, welcome back to Furniture Flipping Teacher and Flipmas Day 10. If you missed Flipmas Day 9, be sure and go check that out before, because in part 1 of these two videos, I built a base for this arched cabinet, and I'm still so proud of myself. But this video, we are going to be finishing off this piece of furniture. We're going to be cleaning it, sanding it, priming it, painting it, and thanks so much to Wagner for sponsoring today's video. So the reason I went ahead and built the base down here is because this was on the ground. It does have a lower portion, but I just thought it was pretty outdated, and so I wanted to modernize it, and this is what we came up with. Again, I want to shout out Abisha at the Curated Attic, because without her doing it first, I wouldn't have ever had this idea. So shout outs to her. And I am going to go ahead and clean this thing because I didn't clean it previously. We've been just doing deconstruction and construction. So I'm going to use my simple green to get all of the dirt and grime off of the surface and ready for paint. I did decide that I'm gonna go ahead and take this door off because that's gonna make it a lot easier for spraying purposes. All right, everything is cleaned off now, so we can move on to the sanding portion. Okay, so before we sand, actually, I do want to fill the original hardware holes because that hardware is dated, and of course I want to add new, and the holes are not going to be the same with the part. Since we're painting, it's going to be totally okay to go ahead and fill these. And I'm going to be using Bondo to fill these. It's all-purpose putty, 2 parts, mix them together, it hardens, and then you've got a really strong hardened area right where the hardware holes were. I'm going to do on both sides because it'll be like a door that you open and close. So you'll be able to see both sides, and I just want to go ahead and cover both sides of the holes. Once this hardens, then we'll go ahead and use the sander to also sand this back. So I figured we might as well get the Bondo going, let it harden, and by the time I'm over here for the door, we'll be able to sand that back as well. So you don't need a ton of Bondo for this, and remember, it does harden pretty quickly, so you want to work a little bit quick. And then I'm just going to go ahead and shove it in there as best I can. The Bondo is on, and luckily there was no other areas that needed to be repaired, so that means we can really move on to sanding the big part while this hardens. You guys, sanding has become one of my favorite parts, which it used to not be at all, but ever since I got these, I have been absolutely loving it because I can just put these on, tune everybody out, and listen to an audiobook. These will be linked down below. I wear them sometimes even when I'm like not needing to protect my ears. But
what are you listening to today?
I am listening to the book Fourth Wing. And then after that, I'll be listening to, I believe it's called Iron Flame. So this is the book that I'm on right now. It's so good. All right, I've got my surf prep here, and we're gonna be using a Pro Foam pad here that's a medium grit, and this is going to help us get some texture on the surface because right now it's super slick and the paint, the primer won't have anything to grab onto. So we're gonna give some tooth to the surface, roughen it up a bit, and then the reason I'm using the foam one for now, and I'll probably switch to a regular one in a minute, but it's because of all of the curves. I don't want to bash any of the curves and make them straight. So that is something that's great about the Pro Foam pads, is that it, you know, kind of contours to all of the corners and the edges and things like that, even if it's not like a straight corner. Got everything sanded down and all the dust wiped back, and now I'm gonna go ahead and put up my Wagner spray tent so that we can get to spraying on some primer. So the Wagner spray tent, this is the large one. It literally only takes about 5 minutes or less to set up, and it's a game changer because it's gonna really help contain all of the overspray. So whether you're in your garage or out in your driveway, this is a great addition to your arsenal when you're spraying to protect the area around you. Here we are, done, 5 minutes exactly. And then this part of the tent, I'm just gonna roll up, but this is perfect for keeping dust particles out. If you've got a piece that fits inside of the tent and you're done spraying it, if you're outside, put this on there, it just Velcros to the side, and then it keeps bugs, dust out. But while you're actually spraying it, you can just roll it up and then just clip it to the top there. All right, so before we get the spray gun prepped, we're gonna go ahead and put the piece in. And since the piece is taller than the Wagner spray tent, I'm gonna lay it down on its front first so that I can reach all the places in the back. And then once that's done and dry, we'll flip it over and do the front facing part. So first goes primer, and I'm gonna be using Dixie Belle's Gray Boss for the primer, and I've got my spray nozzle. This is the fine detail nozzle for several of the Wagner sprayers. If you've got a Flexio model, chances are that these are gonna be interchangeable for you. I'm gonna be attaching it to the Flexio 5000, but it also attaches to tons of other different models. So I'm gonna go ahead and undo the top here. You want the straw to be facing the same direction as the nozzle here. And then when you're pouring your material into the bucket, you're gonna put a strainer on it because you want to strain the material you are putting into your spray compartment. The reason being is you don't want any type of debris or chunks of paint or anything to clog up your sprayer, and then you have to finagle with it when you're mid-project. So this is just a great way to ensure that you are getting really great material down here and that everything is strained out of it. So for the Boss, I'm just gonna go ahead and pour that in there like so, and then it's a little bit of a thicker material, so it will take just a little bit to kind of strain through there all the way. I think I put about half of my 32 ounce in here. We'll see if that covers both sides. If not, I can always refill. And just remember, when you are using a sprayer, it's gonna help you save time, but you might use a little bit more material than if you were just brushing it on. So I just wanna preface that because that is an important thing to think about, but you just have to decide, do you wanna save time or do you wanna save your material? And then once this is done straining, I just like to put it back inside of the same compartment that it came out of so that any excess can strain back in there. And then I'm gonna put my Wagner nozzle. Again, this is the fine detail nozzle, and this is what is definitely recommended for furniture because you're gonna get a really fine mist and it's gonna really help it self-level once you've got it on your piece. Now we're gonna connect this up to the Flexio 5000 and get to spraying. Okay, so here is the Flexio 5000. It plugs into an extension cord because it's kind of a shorter cord. And then it has a long hose. So you could just leave this on the ground and then all you're holding is the actual spray nozzle. And all you do is click it onto this, like so. That's what I mean by it's interchangeable. So this is not connected to the motor in any way, which is really nice when you're cleaning because you can just detach this and all of this is able to be submerged in water, not really having to worry about like not getting water in the motor. Then you can just leave this on the ground, turn it on, and then get to spraying. I'm gonna be adjusting some settings and I'm gonna test out my spray pattern before I go ahead and spray onto my piece because I wanna make sure that everything is flowing nicely since it's a new product in there. And I don't remember what I used last time, but even if I did use the same product, it's important to test your spray pattern every single time. So let's test it out. Also super important to wear a mask, a respirator mask. I recently got this one and it has like a face mask all together as well so that it protects the eyes too. All right, we're looking good. I just adjusted it barely. And you guys, I know that sometimes spraying can be intimidating, but I want to tell you guys about our spraying course. We actually just created a spraying course that is there to alleviate all the fear that you may have when it comes to spraying. We go over how to get the perfect spray pattern, how to get that flawless finish on your furniture. So if you've been on the fence about spraying or have a little bit of fear, check out the link down below in the description and check out our course because it is just the tool you need to get past that fear and get to spraying your furniture. Now that we do have a good spray pattern, we're gonna go ahead and prime this guy. Okay, first little layer of Boss is dry now, so we're gonna flip it over onto its back so that I can spray the primer on the front. Woohoo! Priming is done. The primer is dry. I did sand it down a bit to make sure everything was smoothed out, and it is, and it's looking really good now that everything's one color. But we're not just gonna stop there at the primer. Of course, we are going to paint it a color. And I had you guys telling me in the comments of part 1 what color you guys thought that we should paint this, and all of your suggestions were great, so thank you so much for providing those. And I think I've nailed down a pretty cool color, and it wouldn't be, I feel like, a FFT flip if I didn't mix some colors. So we are gonna be mixing 2 Dixie Belle colors, and we're gonna be mixing Caviar and collard greens. So we're gonna be kind of making a really deep, dark green that has kind of some brown undertones. So I'm excited because I just didn't want to do straight black because I feel like that is what a lot of people do, and that's what you just normally see. I wanted to play with some colors, as I love to do. So we're gonna do 50-50 each color into the spray can. So we've got, this can hold like 20 ounces. So I'm just gonna do 10 of black and 10 of green, and then we'll be able to mix more once we like utilize it. And I know that it's 50-50, so I'll be able to mix the exact right color next time. So here we go. We're gonna do 10 of black. All right, and then now we're gonna do 10 ounces of the collard greens. So once that strains in there, I am going to add some Floetrol, and this is gonna help the paint level out a little bit. It'll kind of give it a little bit longer of a wet time, so it's not gonna just dry immediately. I like to use this sometimes in place of water because not only will it help with the self-leveling, but it'll also thin the paint just a little bit. And it is white, but it doesn't seem to change the color of the end paint. So don't be alarmed there. All right, so we've got 20 ounces of green in there. 10 ounces of green and 10 ounces of black, 20 ounces total. And then we've also got some Floetrol. Just want to make sure that it's really all mixed up well, because you don't want the sprayer grabbing some black and some green and then spitting that out. So it's important, since you can't really see inside of this when you're spraying, you want it to be all mixed well, which I believe it is. And the color, I'm digging it for sure. It's got like that green undertone of the colored greens, but it's deeper and darker, and I feel like it's a good neutral. So we're gonna go ahead, hook up the sprayer, and get spraying on the cabinet. Now that we've got the full coverage on the cabinet here, it's looking really good. I love the color. It's like just not black, but it has some really green undertones. And again, I just feel like it could be super neutral still. So super pleased with that color and how it looks on the entire thing. But we are gonna move on to the top coat now, because I used the chalk paint, so that doesn't have a built-in top coat. So it's important to go ahead and top coat it so that we can protect everything, seal it in. So what I like to do for top coat when I'm spraying is actually keep a little bit of the color that I use. I poured it all out, but like there's some remnants. And then I will put the top coat directly into the same spray gun, because I want to avoid any like milkiness or cloudiness when we are spraying the top coat. And a lot of the times, especially with darker colors, you can have some milkiness if you get too much top coat in one area or things like that. So this just tints the top coat a tad bit to match the color, and then it'll just give you such a great finish at the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour the top coat in. You don't need to thin out the top coat at all because it is already pretty thin and it'll go through the sprayer really well. I will need to adjust my sprayer settings though, to make sure that I'm not pushing out too much top coat and wasting it or letting it pool up in those different areas. I don't want to put too much top coat in to where I'm not going to use it all because then it's tinted. So that's why I only did a little bit in here at a time. And again, I can always refill it. All right, and then I'm just going to mix it up. I'm going to test my spray pattern and we'll be able to spray it on. All right, so the one unfortunate part about putting this cabinet back together is that I can't put the bottom on until I'm put the glass in, because there's no other way, since the shelves are not removable, the sides are not removable. The only thing that's removable is the front door, and it's too slim of a spot. So I am gonna put it through the bottom here, and then we're gonna hook it in. It's gonna be a little tricky. All right, the glass is in. We need to clean it a little bit, but the next step is going to be attaching the backer boards. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and lay this down because it's time to attach the backer board, and I need really good access and leverage to attach it onto the back. Okay, so I've got 2 of these backer boards that I went ahead and already stained with Lily Moon Smoky Gel Stain, the wooden barrel color. I thought that this was a really great color and it contrasted well with the color that I've got on the cabinet, but also like lightened up the back just a little bit so that things on the inside will pop. And so I'm going to be attaching it with just some little pin screws or pin nails because I wasn't too confident in my ability to control the nail gun very well with this really small, probably 1/4 inch little area that I've got to pound it in. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay this on there. Okay guys, we're kind of on the home stretch here, and one of the parts of the build is to add this bottom portion to the cabinet so that there is not just an opening, but there is a bottom to the cabinet. So if you remember in last video, I cut this and I added the pocket holes on the underside so that we could just slip this right in and pocket holes, screw it into the bottom section here so that we'll have that shelf. So if my plan goes to plan, then this should be a really easy thing to accomplish. All right, things are looking good. I just need to do a couple of touch-ups from when we had to shove that bottom portion up in there, but then I'm gonna attach the door and we're gonna be done. Okay, I'm gonna drill a hole, so 2 holes for some new hardware that I'm gonna attach. And I've got my hardware jig here, which makes it super easy to drill the holes in the exact spot that I want them. All right, it is time to put the door on. I'm gonna go ahead and get it attached here, and then the glass, and then I think we're done. We're done. Ta-da! It's all finished. You guys, it looks so good. I am so proud of myself with this project, and I couldn't have asked it to turn out any better. Like, it is everything that I imagined it would be. I wasn't sure on the color at first. Originally, I was thinking, let's just go black, but that's so unoriginal, I guess you could say. And so mixing those 2 colors, making this new color, it's kind of like a chameleon color though, because sometimes I look at it and it looks like a gray, but then it has those green undertones. Sometimes it does look black. I don't know, it's a really pretty color, but yet it's still on that neutral path as well. So let's take a little bit of time and break down the numbers of this cabinet. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It wasn't something that was just grab a project and paint it and sell it. You know, there was a lot of steps, so many that we had to split this video into 2 parts for you guys. So at the beginning, we bought the cabinet for $180, but it did have, it still, and I still have the lower portion. So we're gonna call it that this top portion cost us $90. And then all of the other materials costs quite a bit as well. So the wood for the legs, for the shelf down here, the bottom of it, and the backer board all cost about $190. And then we invested $30 in the primer. Paint costs about $75. I did end up using quite a bit of paint, probably around like 64 ounces, maybe 60, because of just the amount of surface area there was on this piece and the nooks and crannies. Like, you don't think that it would be a ton of paint, but everything just ended up taking a lot to cover. And I also did go ahead and paint the back as well, just so that it wasn't like a complete eyesore on the back. So $75 in paint, $30 for the top coat, and then $25 for miscellaneous things like screws, the sandpaper, the hardware that I purchased, but that was just one out of a 6-pack. And so we're in with a material cost of $350 plus the cabinet. The total upfront cost is $440, which typically I don't spend on, but I just have a lot of confidence in this piece. I'm super happy with the way that it came out, and so I'm gonna list it on Facebook Marketplace and our website and have it here in our store for $1,200, maybe even go up a little bit, and then just wait for that right buyer to come along. And for those of you who have watched this far in the video, thank you so much for your support in watching. And we have a special giveaway that we are doing with Wagner, who was the sponsor of today's video. They are going to be giving away a Flexio 5000 sprayer. So if you want to enter to win that giveaway, comment down below. Couple of things. First of all, I guess make sure you're subscribed to our channel. And then first thing you need to comment is what project you are planning to work on with a sprayer if you won the sprayer. And then second, what's holding you back from wanting to pull the trigger and take that next step to spray your furniture. We're really interested in those areas so that we can then provide more information for you to get past that little fear that you might have. This was the perfect project to use my Wagner Flexio 5000 on because it gave such a smooth and flawless finish, and it really helped me to get into all those nooks and crannies without having to spend hours and hours and hours and hours specifically on the primer, paint, and top coat portion. I feel like those went by super quick, where the other areas of the project were a little bit more time consuming because of the just amount of work that went into it. So comment down below. Thank you guys all so much again for watching Flipmas number 10. We are on the home stretch. I'm so sad that it's over, but it has been a lot of fun and a lot of work over the past month or so that we've been doing Flipmas. So 2 more left. Get subscribed. Can't wait for number 11, and I'll see you on the flip side.